Hello and welcome back to Dominic Jelly Pets. Today let's talk about some axolotls. Some of you may have been wondering where Slayer was in our last axolotl video. Well, this is his new home now. I'll explain everything that happened at the end of the video. However, long story short, Slayer stopped eating in the 30-gallon tank, and we needed to get him out of there, separated from the other two axolotls, and get him eating normally again. Some of you may be wondering what the deal with the bucket is. So we've heard many different views on whether or not nets can harm an axolotl's fragile gills. So what I did is I used a very soft, fine net to guide him into a bucket and scoop him safely out, and it worked perfectly fine. It was actually super easy. Some people use their hands to transport their axolotls. However, I didn't want to damage his slime coat. I didn't want to stress him out, so I thought this would be the least stressful and safest option for him. The water you're seeing in his new tank here was pretty much taken directly out of his old home. So we knew that our water was already ready, it was the right temperature, the right parameters, it didn't need to dechlorinate. We did do a water change on the 30-gallon and added some fresh water to this one. However, it was ready for him to go pretty much straight into his new home. So we gave him some time to settle down, and then it was the moment of truth. We were going to see if he'd eat or accept food in his new home. Yay! Thank you, Slayer. I'm gonna cry. I'm so happy. So we had a bubbler going in our tank since day one, of course. However, every single day until we got a filter, we'd have to do a huge water change just to make the water good enough for him until we got a filter. Even on day 2, we could see the confidence coming back in Slayer when he was eating in his new tank. On day 3, we skipped one feeding for Slayer so we could try to get him back onto his normal feeding pattern of 2 cubes every 2 days, or 2 to 3 cubes every 2 days. Oh, yeah. Oh, you're hungry. And see if he'll eat a little bit more. No? He does not want it. He's taking the second one. Yay! So, Slayer is officially eating normally again in his new tank.
So let's talk about Slayer. Not the band, but that small black axolotl that you're looking at pretty much this entire video.
I'm going to start this video with a little bit of a backstory about Slayer and how we got our axolotls. When we got our axolotls, it was at the same place, on the same day, from the same breeder. And we purchased 3 wild-type axolotls. Or so we thought. Now originally we were looking into leucistic and melanistic axolotls because we loved their look. However, we were just really looking for an axolotl in general because I was in love with this creature and my boyfriend was in love with this creature and we needed one. So we found a breeder who had wild type axolotls and we fell in love with how they looked too anyways because they're super cool. So like I said, we ended up purchasing 3 wild type axolotls from this lady. They were all so tiny the first day that we got them, but even since day 1, Slayer was a little bit smaller than the other 2. So as we were watching them throughout the first week of having axolotls and being axolotl parents, we were noticing that there was something a little bit different about Slayer other than his smaller size. When we looked really closely at them, we noticed that his eyes were black. They didn't have the golden iridescent shine that wild types are known for. So I got my researching pants on and I identified him as a tiny baby melanistic axolotl that just happened to look super like a wild type when he was a baby to the untrained eye. Needless to say, we were thrilled. So we watched him grow into the beautiful creature that he is today, and every day he got darker, and every day he got blacker and cooler, and they're all super cool. I mean, like, the wild types literally shine gold. What is not to love about an axolotl? So I'm getting sidetracked. However, let's talk about housing juvenile axolotls together. Some people just straight up suggest that you don't do it, and that's because they can be feisty, they can hurt each other, trying to keep their best interest in mind while saying that you shouldn't house smaller axolotls together. However, in my personal experience, you can totally do it as long as you have a big enough tank, as long as you monitor your axolotl's behavior and are prepared to move them into another tank, and as long as you have the proper hides and everything that they need in their tank and are feeding them the way they need to be fed as well. Our axolotls were doing great together. They got a little bit feisty during feeding time sometimes, but they've never ever really done any noticeable damage to each other. Until recently. So let's back up about a month. All of my axolotls are doing awesome. They're all eating 2 to 3 bloodworm cubes normally every 2 days, and they're all growing pretty proportionally to each other. They've all got a great appetite, however, the wild types are noticeably more aggressive. So one day a wild type decides to take a cube directly out of Slayer's mouth when we're trying to feed it to him. It started as him being less willing to take his second cube, and then not taking the second cube, and then being less willing to take the first cube, and then not taking the first cube. This was over quite a few feeding periods, so it took us a while to notice this. We were really worried about him, and we did not know what was wrong. We had a really big suspicion that it was intimidation. However, it could have been that he was sick as well, and regardless of the situation, we needed him separated. We needed him out of that tank. So, back in my researching pants, and with the tub being set up for Slayer in the background, I furthered my suspicions on digging through a bunch of forums on the internet. Our axolotl had quite literally grown out of being a good companion for the 2 other axolotls in our tank. I had been measuring them previously, but I stopped measuring them, okay? And really, I should have been. Because when I took a measuring tape to them and figured out their legitimate actual size to the centimeter, Slayer was an entire inch smaller than the other 2. He was 7.5 inches, and Behemoth and Sabbath were a little bit more than 8.5 inches. Now I sound like an awful axolotl parent, but from the side, you really couldn't tell, like, proportionally that they were a little bit bigger than him, big enough to intimidate him out of wanting to eat and feel comfortable in his own home. I don't know if you can hear Dexter eating his kibble in the background. But anyways, long story short, we made Slayer a new home, and he's happy and he's doing great. It's just overall a better environment for him. And I'm really happy for him, and I feel so bad and terrible for what happened. So I just wanted to throw this story out there to all of those axolotl or potential axolotl parents. Just in case this happens to you, this is my story, and Slayer's doing great.
Thanks for watching and have a great day.